Hey guys, welcome to Gen Z Codes. In this video, we're going to be discussing user input and how to get it on Java. So Java has several methods for user input. These methods use the Java scanner object. This object is not built into the basic Java language. It is stored in something called a Java API package. Don't worry about what this means for now, but all you need to know is that we need to tell our program that we will be using something from the API package named java.util.scanner. So to do this, we use an import statement, and we put the import statement over here. So we say import java.util.scanner. Alright, so this statement goes before our program's class definition header. The class must be imported before anything else is done in the program. Now, to use the scanner object, it is first created using the object constructor. So over here, we're going to say scanner, myScanner is equal to new scanner, and then in parentheses, we're going to say system.in. Alright, so this statement is placed at the top of the main method. Once this is created, we can obtain user inputs using methods like myScanner.nextInt, which inputs an integer number. We can also use myScanner.nextDouble, which inputs a decimal number, and the third one, which is myScanner.line, which inputs a string value. So let me show you an example. So we can have myScanner.nextInt, and we could store that in another variable, or we can just ask for input anyway, or we could even do next line, or we could have next double, right? These are basically the main methods that we can use using the scanner object. So each of these statements is usually preceded by a prompt asking the user for a particular input. Once the prompt appears, the user types the requested input and presses the enter key to have the computer accept the value. So, say you have a program where you would like to know the user's age. There would be two lines of code that you would need. So, the first one would be system.out.println, what is your age? And here, I would say int age is equal to myScanner.nextDouble. Int, let's say, maybe my age is equal to myScanner.nextInt, right? Because it's an integer now. And we could run this program, and it would say, what is your age? And I can say maybe 14, and it would just say both successful. Now, I could also add on to this, and I could say system.out.println, and I could say print, let's say, your age is, and then I could say plus my age, right? So let's run this. So here it asks me what is my age, let's say 15, and it says your age is 15. So that's basically how you can get user input. And this is an example with the integers. So let's try an example with maybe, let's say, the doubles and the strings. So I could say right after this, I could say double, and I could say, well, I don't know, perhaps we could use, we could just say decimal, right? And we could say myScanner.next double, oops. And after this, we could maybe ask for a string value. So we could say string, maybe say name, right? And here I would say myScanner.nextLine, and we would put that, right? And so here basically it would ask you for a decimal, and here it would ask you for a name. So let's put a prompt over here. So let's say maybe, so system.out.println, and we could probably say just enter a decimal, right? Then over here we could say, so system.out.println, and we could say, what is your name? Right? So let's run this and we can see how this works, right? So you can say, what is your age? So let's say it's like about 16. Then it says enter a decimal, and I could say maybe 4.5. And it asks me, what is your name? Your age is 16. Right. So the noted problem over here is that the string input prompt appears, but you don't actually get a chance to type anything. So the noted problem will occur anytime the next line method is preceded by a next double or any kind of numeric input. Why? When a number is typed and when you press enter, there is still a new line character hanging around in that line of input. When the next line method is invoked, it reads this new line character as a string input and continues. So to keep this from happening, we just put an extra next line method in the code to, let's say, strip off the straggling new line character. Then the subsequent next line method will get the string input that you really want. Notice we only have to do this when a next line is preceded by a numeric input of some kind. So over here, after this, I would say myScanner dot next line, right? And so now when I run it, it asks me for my age, let's say 3.5, and asks me for my name, and now I do have space to type it in. So I can say, let's say just Gen Z codes, and it just prints out the age. I could also print out the decimal that's given, so I could say system.out.println, and I could say you entered plus decimal, and I could also print out the name, so I could say system.out.println, your name is, and then plus name, right? And so here it would just print out all of the inputs. So let's say the age is now 18. I could say 2.5, and name could be Gen Z codes, right? And it prints out everything that we've told it as right now, right? So that is basically what the myScanner method is. Now the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be creating a savings calculator, so a project that actually calculates your savings by taking in user input. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to create a new project. So let's go to File, and let's say New Project, Next, and let's call this Savings Calculator. Alright, so the very first thing that we want to do is, because we're going to be using the scanner object, we're going to say import java.util.scanner. Then the next thing that we want to do is we want to create that object. We want to construct it, right? So we're going to say scanner myScanner is equal to new scanner, and we're going to say system.in over here, right? The next thing that we want to do is we want to declare and initialize our variables. So the first thing that we want is we just want the name. So we're going to say string my name, and we're going to just initialize it like that. Then we're going to say double deposit, and we're going to say 0.0. So basically how you usually calculate savings is you basically ask the person for how much they've deposited or how much they're going to deposit and for how long they're depositing that amount. So with each deposit you and with each week you kind of calculate, you multiply those two together and you find out how much they've saved over those weeks, right? So what this deposit means is how much are you depositing every single week. And then the next one, which brings me to my next variable, is int weeks, which for now is equal to 0, right? So this is for how many weeks are you going to be depositing something, right? And so basically, yeah, for how many weeks are you going to be depositing something? And it starts with 0, right? Because you start with week 0. And over here, the deposit is 0.0 because right now it's 0. and that will eventually change. The variable value will change or vary after we add the myScanner input. Alright, so the next variable, the last one that we have, is total. So we're going to call that total. I'm going to set it to 0.0 for now. So total is basically how much you've saved in total, alright? Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to ask for the person's name. So we're going to say system.out.println, and we're going to say, what is your name, right? And maybe just add a hello over there. And here we're going to use the myScanner method, and we're going to say my name is equal to myScanner dot next line, right? And now what we want to do is we want to get the deposit amount. So we're going to say system.out.println, and over here we're going to put this backslash, and we're going to say n, and then we're going to say how much will you deposit each week. So basically what this /n does is that it leaves a line and it starts on the next line, right? It basically leaves a gap so that it makes it more organized, just makes it look nicer, I guess. You can choose to add it, choose not to add it. It's completely up to you. It's just how the project, when run, how it's going to look, right? So yeah, so this asks you how much will you deposit every week. So now over here, I'm going to say deposit is equal to myScanner dot next double. Alright, and now what I want to do is I want to get the number of weeks. So I'm going to say system.out.println. I'm going to ask for how many weeks will you be depositing the money, right? Or I can just say how many weeks will you be depositing the money, and then I'm gonna say weeks is equal to myScanner dot next int, because it's an integer, right? Now what it's gonna do, what I want the computer to do is I want it to compute and display the total. So here I'm gonna say total is equal to deposit into weeks, right? Because that would essentially calculate how much you're going to save up after those number of weeks. And then I'm going to say system.out.println, and here I'm going to say /n, so new line, and I'm going to say plus my name plus after, and then I'm going to say plus weeks, and then I'm going to put that, and we're going to say weeks. So after these many weeks, you will have a total of dollars, and I'm going to say total in your savings. Right. So what this basically does is first it'll start on a new line, right? Then it says your name. So let's say the name that we have is Gen Z Codes. So it's going to say Gen Z Codes. After these many weeks, you will have a total of this much in your savings. So now what we should do is we should probably run it and see how that works, right? So first it asks me what's my name. So I'm going to say Gen Z Codes. And like there's a new line over here, right? And then after that it says how much will you deposit each week? So I'm going to say about like 30, alright? And it says how many weeks will you be depositing the money? So let's say I want to deposit it for 5 weeks. So Gen Z Codes, after 5 weeks, you will have a total of $150 in your savings. So it works pretty well. It calculates exactly how much savings I will have, and it takes your input and kind of figures that out. Now I want to run this one more time, and I kind of want to show you with a different value what happens. So let's say Gen Z codes again, right? And how much will you be depositing every week? So this time, let's pick a number like 40.52, right? And how many weeks will you be depositing the money? Let's say about 3, right? So again, it works out, it checks out, right? But let's say and let's say I say 40.52, and this time let's say about 10. So it says after 10 weeks you'll have a total of 405.20000, like plenty of zeros and then 5 in your savings. Now, basically, the many zeros over here are due to the computer's inability to do exact arithmetic. We get what is called a round-off error. Now the answer should be more correctly displayed with just 2 decimal points, so it should actually be 405.20. It is easy to do this in Java, but it's kind of beyond what we are discussing at the moment. So be aware in projects we use in this class that we may see round-off errors when we're actually working with decimal numbers, right? So this might be a slight problem, but when we reach that point later in the stage, maybe in one of the next few videos, I'll discuss this and how we can actually solve this. But this would be an error that you might face, but don't worry, it's normal for now, and we'll figure out how to fix it later on. Alright, so that was our project, right? This is our completed project. But we can actually add an extension to this, and we can make it even better by adding an interest rate, right? So most savings accounts actually yield interest. That is, the bank actually pays you for letting them to use your money. So this savings account project has ignored interest completely. But it's fairly easy to make the needed modifications to account for interest. The math is just a little more complicated. So let me tell you the steps, and I'll show you how, and then we can change our project accordingly. So the steps needed to do this calculation are relatively simple. So first of all, we need to obtain an amount for each week's deposit. Then secondly, we need to obtain a number of weeks. Then we need to multiply the two input numbers together. And then lastly, we need to output the product, which is the total savings, right? So first, what we need to do is we need to define a variable, interest, right? And because interest rates are decimal numbers, we're going to use a double type for this. So over here, I'm going to define a new one, which I'm going to say double interest, right? Then the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to add code to allow the user to input this interest rate. So let's say over here, I'll say system.out.println, what is the interest rate, right? And here we can put interest is equal to myScanner dot next double, right? So that gives me the code to allow the user to input the interest rate. Now I'm going to modify the code over here, the total code, to use interest in computing the total. So the code for that is a bit challenging, so let me just explain it to you. So it's 5200 multiplied by the deposit into, so we actually put a parenthesis over here, and we say the deposit multiplied by, and we say math dot power, so to the power of 1, just give me a second, so it's 1 plus, oops, right, 1 plus interest divided by 5200, and then we put a comma and we say weeks, and we close the parentheses, and we say -1, close the parentheses, and say divided by interest. And we can close that as well. Alright, so let me explain to you exactly what's happening over here. So first of all, the 5,200 here is used to convert the interest from a yearly value to a weekly value, right? Which is why we've put 5,200 over here. Now, the next part is deposit into math to the power. So this is actually the mathematical formula for interest, right? I just want to focus on the computer science, the Java and the programming aspect of this, which is this function, right? Math to the power of. So this part that we have over here, which is 1 plus interest divided by 5,200, that is argument 1. The second part we have over here, which is weeks, is argument 2. So what this is going to do is it's basically going to raise this answer, this input, to weeks. It's going to raise it to the power of the number of weeks that we're actually storing it for. And then it's going to subtract, it's going to subtract 1 from that result, and it's going to divide that entire thing by the interest, alright? I know it's a bit complicated to understand, so I'm not actually going to get into the mathematics of this, and I'm just going to leave you at that with this one over here. So let's just run the modified project now, and you will see that we are able to apply the interest rate over here as well. So it asks me, what is your name? So I'm going to just say Gen Z Codes. Then it asks me, how much will you deposit each week? So I'm going to say about 20, right? And how many weeks will you be depositing the money? Let's say about 4 weeks, right? What is the interest rate? I don't know, let's say about 1.1. So it says after 4 weeks, you will have a total of, again, doesn't exactly round it off, but it's good enough for now, right? So that's about it for this video, and I hope you kind of got the idea of this, you understood what a round-off error is, and that at this stage, it's okay to have a round-off error, and you don't really need to know how to fix it right now, but we'll figure that out later. But anyways, I hope you understand how to use the myScanner object, and how we can actually get user input from the user, essentially, right? How we can get user input. It's pretty important in Java, so I hope it's a concept that you've understood completely. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment in the description, in the comment section below. Well, thank you for watching. Happy coding!